This is the Louie T Network. You are now officially in the lab room. It's that time again. It's that time again to go hard in the off season, cause we trying to win. We gon' go so hard, we don't take no days off. Hopefully one day it's all gonna pay off.
Who else could it be but me, your me, Louie T? Welcome to the 2017 NFL Draft Wrap-Up Series, where your man Louie T aims to break down all 32 teams in the National Football League's 2017 NFL Draft using our baseball graded scale, single, double, triple, home run. There are no strikeouts here in the Draft Wrap-Up Series, as we cannot tell how these players are going to pan out, and I don't want to discount any of these young men before they get their chance in the National Football League. And so we'll get a score for each and every single player selected by said team in their particular draft. Apply bonuses when necessary, get an aggregate score, divide by the number of picks, which will then yield us an overall grade for that team's draft. We'll then move on to the next team in the series picked by you. That's right, you, the viewer out there, are in total control, as this is the You Pick format, or as I like to call it, the Up format. Simply be the first to leave a comment in the comment section of this and future videos in this series, stating two things: the phrase next and the team you'd like to see next. We're getting down to the final stages of this series, so it's simple. Just don't put any teams that have already been done. You guys have done a great job. As a matter of fact, no one has put a team that has already been done up this year, but now we're getting to the final stages. Wouldn't shock me if someone does do that eventually, but you guys have done a great job of having the requisite comments and also not putting teams up who have already been done. So continue to do what you've done throughout this series, and we'll wrap this thing up seamlessly and transition into the preseason and then into the regular season. And then let's give you a couple of examples. Patriots next, Pats next, next Pats, next Patriots, next New England. You get the drift. Next any. Look, you don't want to be too wordy. Again, very competitive process here. You're looking to be fast. You're looking to be efficient, and most importantly, you're looking to be first. And because of you out there, the next team up in the series is the Super Bowl champion New England Patriots. And this is a season in which I look at this Patriots organization, and they've pushed all of their chips collectively to the center of the table. Tom Brady has turned big 4-0 just a few days ago. Had a nice little party and a bunch of stuff going on for him, and that was all cute. So there was a discussion about did he or didn't he have a concussion. His wife Giselle leaked last year that, yeah, he had a concussion, and Tom refuted that. They probably had a discussion at home. Hey, don't do that again, Giselle. Don't put my business out on the streets. Tom has vehemently denied he had a concussion. He had a concussion. No one's falling for the old banana in the tailpipe. But it doesn't matter at this point. The Patriots see the writing on the wall. They know they only have at best 3 more good years of Thomas Brady left. I think even less than that. And so because of that, they're looking to win now. We're not looking to develop talent. Once Tom Brady retires, they may not win another Super Bowl for 30 years. And they are aware of the fact that it's hard to win in this league. And when you have one of the greatest, if not the greatest quarterback of all time on your team, and you're running out of time, the hourglass is running out of sand, you must try to win as many as you can get. And they're pushing all their chips into the center of the table. And they basically bypassed this entire draft by going out and spending resources in free agency, which is something the Patriots don't do very often. And more importantly, via trades, giving away draft picks first, second round picks, trading back in the draft, and acquiring talented football players who are veterans, who they know can play the game, who they know can help them win now, and not worrying about investing in prospects that can help them down the line. It's a risky prospect if you're a Patriots fan for the future, but if you're talking about right now, it's all about now for the Patriots. And so only 4 selections, which is unheard of. But we're gonna go through these players. Can't grade this draft. It's only 4 players. There's nothing to grade here. However, we're gonna go through these picks and talk about what the Patriots have done, because in effect, they had a draft, pre-draft, with what they did in free agency and in trades and all of those things, re-signing their own, they basically have done a great job of putting together a roster that's going to have a great chance to go back-to-back in New England in 2017. Let's look at this draft, though, and we don't start until the third round with the Patriots in this 2017 NFL draft. And with the 83rd overall selection, Youngstown State edge rusher Derek Rivers is the selection. This looks like a New England Patriot pick here, a guy that looks the part, that can play multiple positions. We know the Patriots love versatile players. I think Rivers can be exactly that. As we start with his size, 6'4", 248. This is a guy that in his junior season played inside linebacker as well as defensive end. He's a guy that can move around. I think it wouldn't shock me if the Patriots asked him to do that in some capacity in New England, to move around and be their new version of a guy that they traded away in Jamie Collins. Derek Rivers looks like he could be the new Jamie Collins, and that's probably what they're going to try to mold him into. And so it wouldn't shock me if that's what they're asking him to do. Maybe they're just saying, look, man, Rob Ninkovich just retired. We need rushers off the edge. We lose a big guy that a lot of people didn't talk about, but is no longer here, went to Indianapolis. I'm going to need you to step up as a pass rusher for us. And so maybe that's what they're going to ask him to do. Maybe just come off the edge. But nonetheless, 6'4", 248. That's good enough to do it inside. That's good enough to do it outside as a stand-up outside linebacker. So that's good size for me. Athleticism, he was in the field with the defensive end. So 4'6", 35-inch vert and 3 cone, all best among his position group at the combine. And so this guy's highly athletic. As a matter of fact, he's explosive off the edge. That's the next pro. With a little bit of a bend. He can bend a little bit. It's not Von Miller, it's not DeMarcus Ware bend, but he can bend that edge and get around the corner. So there is a little bit of an explosive aspect to his game, especially off the snap. He does a really good job of shooting off the ball, and his first couple of steps are explosive, but he still needs to learn how to finish. A lot of guys in college don't know how to finish, and Derek Rivers falls into that category for me. He's got some strength to him. 30 reps of 2 1/4 tells you all you need to know. This guy is extremely strong. And again, that strength translates to the field. He does have an aggressive power, speed to power bull rush that does come in handy. When he starts winning off the edge with speed, that then scares the tackle. He then opens up his hips. He's looking for speed, looking for the fastball. Here comes the changeup, and it's power, and it's one hell of a bull rush when he does have that tackle guessing. So he does have some strength that can convert that power, that speed to power, and get to the quarterback. There's a closing burst that he has. I talked about the explosiveness. When this guy finally disengages from an offensive lineman, that path from ball carrier, quarterback, whomever has the football, that distance is closed so quickly because he's so fast. He's got a really good closing burst once he's able to clear that offensive lineman. Stout at the point of attack, does a really good job of setting a physical edge in the run game. That's one thing I was kind of looking at him as, because he looks, that 6'4" kind of looks like a compact 6'4", if you know what I mean. So I didn't know if he could set that physical edge or not. Watching him on tape, there is no doubt about it. That's the one thing I say that he does consistently. Doesn't always get after the quarterback. I watched him against West Virginia, wasn't impressed at all. And that's better talent than he sees at Youngstown State. So I wasn't impressed that much against, but he did set a physical edge in that football game. And that's consistently what you get, a guy that can set a physical edge, stout at the point of attack. Versatility, and this is what I think the Patriots fell in love with, along with the athleticism and size, is that this guy can play defensive end with his hand in the dirt, which he did at Youngstown State. He was very prolific at it. Can stand up in a 2-point stance as an outside linebacker, which is what I think the Patriots are going to ask him to do more of. And also played some linebacker, kicked inside his junior year, played linebacker as well as edge rusher. And so I think the Patriots see all of those different dynamics and different attributes he brings to the table and say, hey, we love that. We want that. We're going to work with this guy. We're going to try to mold him into maybe the next Jamie Collins on this roster. We will see. And finally, productivity. He was wildly productive while at Youngstown State. In 3 years at Youngstown State, 52 tackles for loss, 36 sacks. This guy got after the quarterback. This guy was a menace in the backfield. And again, take it with a grain of salt. It's Youngstown State. Okay, so you're not seeing the level of competition of, say, a guy playing in the SEC or a guy playing in the Pac-12 or a guy playing in the Big Ten. But nonetheless, you still got to go out and dominate. And that Derek Rivers did while at Youngstown State. As we go to his cons, he doesn't disengage enough for me. He doesn't stack and shed. Does a really good job of holding up at the point of attack, extending his arms, but he doesn't disengage. He doesn't get rid of that offensive lineman and get to the football. A lot of times guys will run right up the B gap, right past him. Guys will run right around him. He does a really good job of spilling things towards the sidelines or even forcing it back inside, but he doesn't make the play necessarily, and he's not helping others necessarily make the play. He doesn't get off of blocks. I would love to see him disengage a lot better. Quality length swallows him up. Again, I watched him against West Virginia, not impressed. I watched him against North Dakota State. I thought he was okay in that game. I didn't walk away blown away by what this guy can put forth. And so he did injure himself later in that game, injured his ankle, tried to come back and play. I thought that was admirable, but nonetheless, wasn't impressed when he was fully healthy in that ball game. So again, I didn't see a guy that won as often as the numbers may indicate. Again, lesser competition, dominates. Better competition, he looks average. So I actually personally think that the guy opposite of him, Avery Moss, who played on his team that was drafted 2 rounds later by the Giants, actually has a brighter future in the NFL as a pass rusher. Now, again, Derek Rivers may be asked to do different things in this Patriots scheme, but Rivers may ultimately be the better player of the two. But if you're talking about from a pure pass rushing standpoint, I actually like Avery Moss better than I did Derek Rivers, but we will see how things turn out for both players. And finally, he needs more pass rush juice, which is a perfect segue to what I was just referencing. He's a guy that wants to win with pure speed up the field. He's a guy that wants to go speed to power, but you don't get anything else. There's no hard outside, back inside. There's no spin move. There's no creativeness to what he's doing. He's either going to beat you with speed off the edge or he's going to beat you with a bull rush. If he doesn't win with one of those two moves, you got it. And so there's no diversity to what he brings to the table. And again, if he's going to be a pass rusher at the next level, if the Patriots decide, okay, we're going to kick him inside on 1st and 2nd down and on 3rd downs and obviously passing situations, we're going to ask him to rush off the edge. He's going to have to get better at diversifying what he does as a pass rusher. Right now, I think he's lacking in that department. In the 3rd round, 83rd pick overall, Youngstown State edge rusher Derek Rivers for me is a double. I'm not in love with what I saw from this guy. Like I said, I think there are some really good attributes here, and I think the Patriots love the fact that he's not only athletic and long in terms of size, but he's also a guy that is versatile enough to play multiple positions, which we know the Patriots, they love that in football players. We'll see what they decide to do with him, and we'll see if they get the most out of Derek Rivers. The Patriots do a really good job of drafting in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th round. Where they struggle generally is in the 1st round. And so we'll see what they get out of Derek Rivers in the 3rd round as they go to the next 3rd round selection. 2 picks later, 85th overall, Troy offensive lineman Antonio Garcia is the selection. Height and length are the first 2 pros here. This guy's 6'6", got 33-inch arms, which screams a left tackle at the next level. And so he's got the requisite size in terms of height and length. And he's got the athleticism to match, which is the next pro. Ex-basketball player, so he's got sweet feet, can move very well. 5'1", 5'40", and 31-inch vert. That 31-inch vert was among the best along the offensive line at the combine. So that explosiveness shows you just how quick he is off the football. Has the ability to move. Again, ex-basketball player. You see that in his movement skills on the football field. Good feet to handle and mirror speed. And so that's the next pro. His feet are outstanding. I watched him against Clemson. I thought he was flawless in that football game. Did a great job protecting the quarterback's blind side and gave Troy an opportunity to try to upset the number 2 team in the nation in that ball game. And I thought he was magnificent. Didn't give up any pressures. I thought he was outstanding that entire day. And that's the kind of athletes he's going to see across from him on a week-to-week basis at the next level. And I thought he handled himself very, very well in that football game. And it's because he's a good enough athlete to move his feet, mirror the guy in front of him. And if need be, he can move his feet fast enough to counteract a guy rushing up the field with tons of speed. Nasty disposition. He may be one of the nastiest offensive linemen I've seen on tape, and I've watched a ton of them in this draft. But he's one of those guys that from start to the end of the play and even a little bit afterwards, he's getting after it. He's pushing guys. He's being extremely physical to the point. I saw him pick up a penalty, a 15-yard personal foul penalty after a touchdown. He was still pissed off. And so this is a guy that just plays with a nasty disposition and chip on his shoulder. And I absolutely love that in offensive linemen. He's able to recover those 33-inch arms, and that 6'6" frame gives him an opportunity to come back and rebound after initially getting beat on a play. And so anytime you're a long offense, this is why it is a necessity that you have a length and size as a tackle, because you're out on an island, and if you get beat, you have to be able to push a guy around. And he does a great job of staying with the play. If a guy beats him, he's going to not only push him around the pocket, he's going to stay with him. There aren't going to be any guys that run around the pocket. Quarterback holds on to the ball a second too long, and that guy comes all the way around because that tackle stopped thinking, I did my job. I pushed him around the pocket. Quarterback stepped up. He should have delivered the football already. There's not going to be anybody circling around and coming back and getting a sack from behind. He's going to stay with that guy after he pushes him around the pocket. He's going to stay on his ass, probably dump him on his neck and then jump on top of him. That's the kind of football player you got here in Antonio Garcia. Gets to reach blocks. Again, enough athleticism to get to just about any block on the football field. He's a good, smooth, fluid athlete. And again, that basketball background comes into play when asking him to get to those tough angles and difficult blocks. He's able to do so. 42 career starts at left tackle. Thought he was, like I said before, thought he was awesome versus Clemson. And so this is a guy that has experience on an island taking care of business on the blind side of the quarterback. You go to his cons, his weight. This has been a question with him because he's an ex-basketball guy and a slender frame at 6'6", 302. This guy came into spring practice in 2016 at 280. He literally was 290 and at times below 290 during the football season in 2016 during the fall. So the question then becomes, can he keep his frame up? That 302-pound frame right now, is that a mirage? Is this a guy that's going to dip below the 300-pound threshold? And is he a guy that can sustain the weight and even put on more weight? That's a question around league circles. We will see. Technique work is the next con. He's a guy that just needs some work. He's a little raw, a little rough around the edges, but I don't see it being things that can't be fixed. I think he opens up too soon. He's athletic enough to handle any speed rush, but sometimes he doesn't trust his own athleticism. Opens up, which gives up the inside, which then puts you at a disadvantage. And when he gets beat to the inside, he lunges instead of moving his feet and redirecting. He lunges, which puts him in a bad position to either hold or not make that block altogether. So there are some things that he can work on fundamentally that I think they're going to do a really good job of. And we know the Patriots have one of the best offensive line coaches in all of football in Dante Scarnecchia. So I look for these little wrinkles to be ironed out and for him to be a guy that is going to be more than serviceable for the Patriots at the left tackle, right tackle, wherever you decide to put him on the football field and get it done. Off the snap late at times. Again, a little small, fine-tuned issue that can be resolved with just work, okay? There are times, I watched him against Ohio, and I love Terrell Basham. If you've been watching this series, you know that. And he was the pass rusher for Ohio. And he beat him on a play, forced an interception, and it was just Antonio Garcia getting out of his stance late. And in that game in particular, there are at least 3 instances where I see Antonio Garcia laid off the snap. Now, did he not hear the snap count? Did he not hear the cadence? Was he not looking at the football? I don't know what the problem was, but he got off the snap late, and it cost his team dearly in that football game. And so he's laid off the snap from time to time. That can be resolved. He needs to clean that up, though, because in this league with elite, explosive edge rushers, you don't get off the snap in time, you're going to get beat and you're not going to be able to recover in this league where these edge rushers are so quick off the ball. But in the third round, 85th pick overall, Troy offensive lineman Antonio Garcia for me is a triple. I think this is a really good quality third round selection that I think can help this Patriots team immediately. And I look for him to get some reps in preseason. If he's healthy, I think this guy's going to end up starting at some point in his rookie season for this Patriots football team. We've seen the Patriots do it before. They're not shy about starting rookies. They start young guys all the time. It would not shock me if Antonio Garcia adds his name to the list of rookies getting meaningful snaps for the New England Patriots throughout the regular season. Go to the fourth round, 131st pick overall, Arkansas edge rusher Dietrich Wise Jr. is the selection. This is a guy that I look at him and he's a rotational depth guy. I don't see him being a standout playmaker, but nonetheless, you need these kinds of guys on the team. The Patriots always seem to have these kinds of unsung heroes on their football team. They don't look like much on the eyeball test, except this guy's extremely long, but they end up being big-time playmakers for the Patriots. And so he has a chance to be another one of those guys. Size and extreme length. This guy's 35-inch arms. He's 6'5", and he looks the part. Long arms, long legs. He looks like a long defender, and obviously a mismatch nightmare for tackles who struggle with length. This guy has it in spades. Long legs, long arms. He's a problem for tackles, for guards who struggle with guys who can contact them first and control the action. Speaking of which, comes off the football aggressively with power. It is because of that length. When his pad level is good, his bull rush is as physical, violent, and nasty as you will find in this entire draft. He can get up under your pads with that length of 35-inch arms. If he comes off the football low and wins leverage, man, is his bull rush nasty. I watched him destroy LSU, 2.5 sacks in 2015, which if you're looking for the good Dietrich Wise Jr., you need to go back to 2015. That's when he was at his best. I watched the 2016 tape, wasn't impressed at all. You go back to the 2015 tape, however, and he looks like a different guy. And I tell you what, when that pad level is good, he comes off the football physically explosive and very aggressive. And so that power translates, that length turns into power, and it gives him an advantage. Uses length to control the action as the next pro. That length is his biggest key and guide to him being successful at the next level. He is not an explosive nor overly athletic defender. So his length is going to be his ticket to winning in this league. And he understands that, and he wins with his length when he does, in fact, win. Sets a physical edge, and again, it all starts with his length. His length allows him to set a physical edge in the run game, and he's able to disengage from offensive linemen because of that length. And so again, that's going to be his calling card at the next level. It was his calling card in college. Deflections. He's a long defender. I just said that. So if you're not getting home, what's the next best thing to do? Get your hands up. He understands that. 6 deflections in the last 2 seasons. So he understands if I'm not going to hit home, I might as well try and affect the play in another way to get my hands up. And he's a long defender, long arms, 35-inch arms. Doesn't take much to get into play and affect it, and he does that. And he's got an extremely high motor. This is a guy that gives you everything he's got. I feel like Derek Rivers sometimes loafs on the backside of plays. He knows he's not going to be a big-time participant. He doesn't really hustle. Dietrich Wise is hustling on everything. Front side, back side, doesn't matter. He's looking to get in there and make something happen. Love that about him on tape. As you go to his cons, excessive strides limit his redirect. This is a guy that takes a long, I told you, got long legs, eats up a ton of grass. But the problem with that is when he's looking to stop and change directions, it is all but impossible because he takes such long and huge strides that when someone changes direction on him, he's got to stop, turn all the way around, and try to rev up the motor. it just isn't happening for Deatrich Wise Jr. He does not redirect well. His long strides help him in a straight line, but when you're asking him to change directions, forget about it. It's not happening. Limited starting experience and low production. This guy only started 1 year at Arkansas, his final season, and that was due, and he was kind of limited. He hurt his hand early in the season and was dealing with that. But nonetheless, this was a guy that really was a reserve player, which is what I think he's going to be at the next level. I don't see him as a starter. There's a reason why he didn't get on the field until the last year of his career at Arkansas as a starter, is because I think he's a rotational depth guy, and he did a great job in his junior season. Like I said, that's some of his best football of his career, coming off the bench in a reserve role. I thought he was a lot more explosive and dynamic there, even though he's not an explosive player. I thought he had more in the tank, more to give, and he was a little bit more effective. And then final con is he's not explosive. Don't ever confuse him for an explosive, off the edge, go get him type of pass rusher. That's not what he is. As a matter of fact, he's not a great pass rusher at all. He's a guy that wins with length. If he can get up under your pads, he'll bull rush you and he'll win that way. He has a great push and pull jerk move where he stacks that offensive lineman up with that length, shakes him, ragdolls him, and then discards him and propels himself to the quarterback with that offensive lineman. He did it against LSU. He did it beautifully. If he could perfect that, maybe throw in a couple of extra moves with that length, and use his hands a little bit, be able to use a swim move, he may be able to do something. But again, there's no explosion here whatsoever. I watched him on some twists and stunts. Man, are those things slow or what? Again, those long strides, they don't do anything for him. No justice served there at all. But this is a guy that I think is going to come in, rotational depth. Patriots love to have these guys that give you a little something. They love Trey Flowers. They thought it was so nice. They decided to go back to Arkansas and do it twice. 4th round, 131st pick overall. Arkansas edge rusher Deatrich Wise, for me, is a double for this Patriots football team as we go to their final selection in the 2017 NFL Draft. 6th round, 211th pick overall. UCLA offensive lineman Connor McDermott is the selection. 6'8", 307 pounds, tremendous size and length. 6'8", 35-inch arms. Wow. Okay. This guy is extremely long and again gives this Patriots offensive line a little bit of flexibility. Could probably serve as a swing tackle if need be with that kind of length. And he's actually got some really good feet. Speaking of which, athleticism, 5'1", 840. But that's not the big caveat here. The 3-cone and the 20-yard shuttle were both best among his positional group at the combine. And again, we're talking about another ex-basketball player. So we see a theme and a trend here. Patriots are going for the big, long, athletic ex-basketball player, offensive lineman in this draft. They know that those guys are going to move well. They know that those guys are going to have sweet feet because they played basketball, and that requires good movement skills. And that's what you're getting here in McDermott as well as Garcia. Fluid kick slide. I think he comes out of his stance and his kick slide is very fluid. He doesn't waste a lot of motion. He gains ground with his kick slides backwards. So even guys that are much more athletic than him aren't able to get away. And then again, that length, much like I talked about with Antonio Garcia, it's even more so here. He's got 2-inch longer arms than Garcia, and he's 2 inches taller than Garcia. So he's able to rebound when he gets beat sometimes with that length. So that kick slide, fluid, the length, great, all serves him well as a pass protector. Generates initial movement in the run game and seals while in that run game. I thought he did a really good job of generating initial movement off the snap. He's not one of those guys that's going to take you, erase the line of scrimmage, and then drive you an additional 3 yards and really create space in the run game. He's a guy that's going to take the line of scrimmage, move it a yard or two, and then turn and seal. And then he's done. Okay. And so, but he does a good job of doing that. And that allows the running back to make a definitive cut off of his block. So again, I think there is some value there with McDermott in the run game as well. And then 31 straight starts. at UCLA. And so again, in the Pac-12, going up against that kind of competition, 31 straight consecutive starts. That's a really good look for Connor McDermott moving on to the NFL. As we go to his cons, opens up his hips too soon. He's another one of these guys, much like Antonio Garcia sometimes, doesn't trust his athleticism. He's athletic enough. His feet are good enough. His kick slide is good enough that he can get to a guy that is explosive off the edge. He doesn't have to rush and open up his hips too soon. And he overcompensates for that speed and he oversets. And what happens is now you give away the inside and guys exploit that. And it's like sort of a catch-22 for him. And it's like a downhill slope for him. One thing leads to another that leads to another, which ultimately leads to his fatal flaw. And so he opens up his hips too soon, which puts him off balance. He plays extremely upright. He's 6'8". I talk about this all the time with guys that are extremely tall. When you're extremely tall like this, and you don't have any bend in your knees, and you play extremely upright, you put yourself at a disadvantage. You're showing me the numbers. You're giving me an easy target to hit, and you make it easy for guys to get up under your pads and bull rush you, which takes us to our ultimate fatal flaw with Connor McDermott. He can be bull rushed. And it's because he opens up his hips too soon. What happens when you open up your hips too soon and a guy goes inside? Your immediate first reaction is to just turn your body. Maybe not even move your feet, just turn your body. So if a guy comes back inside and they give you a one-arm club, a one-arm, long arm of the law, pull, bull rush, you're done. You're off balance, they got you, you're done. What happens when you play upright, you give up all of this, guys are able to get up under your pads and drive you backwards, you're done. And this is a guy that can be put on skates, driven back into the lap of his quarterback on too many occasions. And that's something that college scouts were really worried about with Connor McDermott. The Patriots obviously feel like the athleticism, the height, the length, these are all things that they can work with and improve him from a physical standpoint. I think he's still got that basketball frame. This was, unlike Antonio Garcia, Connor McDermott was a McDonald's All-American. This man could have played basketball. Okay, he chose football over basketball, but basketball was his first passion and he was really good at it. Okay, we're talking about a McDonald's All-American coming out of high school. So there's a basketball frame within this football frame we're talking about, much like with Antonio Garcia. And so I don't know if he has that core strength that is necessary to make the transition to big-time NFL tackle. We'll see. I think the Patriots feel confident that they can get him into their weight and strength conditioning program and get him a little stronger, bulk him up a little bit, and make him a little bit more physical at the point of attack. We'll see what happens. But nonetheless, in 6th round, 211th pick overall, UCLA offensive lineman Connor McDermott for me is a double to round out this Patriots draft. Look, the Patriots, I can't grade this, okay? It's an incomplete. I'm not going to even try to grade this because it's only 4 picks. It doesn't make any sense to grade this Patriots draft. But what I will say is I'm impressed with what the Patriots have done this offseason, minus this draft, which I thought was a solid draft. But what they did here was they addressed some issues in free agency that basically acted as a draft for them, and they feel really confident in what they were able to do. They re-signed Donta Hightower, which everyone thought they were going to lose him. They re-signed him. They re-signed Alan Branch, who was a really quality player up front for them. They signed they retained Malcolm Butler, who was a restricted free agent. Everybody thought, oh, they're going to lose him. Oh, they're going to trade him. They're going to do something with Malcolm Butler. He's not going to be back. Now they're going to tag team him up with Stephon Gilmore, who they signed in the offseason. Mike Gillislee, who comes over from Buffalo. The Patriots love poaching away players from other teams in the division that they deem really good football players. They did it with Wes Welker once upon a time. They did it with 7-11 Chris Hogan last year. They do it to the Bills yet again with Stephon Gilmore and Mike Gillislee now, or Gillislee. I always call him Gillislee. Mike Gillislee. And David Harris. The Jets let him go. He's now a New England Patriot. So you're strengthening teams, weakening teams in your division, strengthening your own. They traded for Brandon Cooks. They traded for Dwayne Allen. They traded for Coney Ealy from the Panthers. So This is a team that they went out and they were the most aggressive I've ever seen the Patriots in the offseason. And this is a team that has literally pushed all their chips to the center of the table, and they're going out for another chip. They know they're running out of time with Tom Brady, and I love this approach. Bypass the young guys that aren't going to be able to help you as much early on, and go get veterans that have been in this league that you know. Coney Ely lit you up in the Super Bowl, or lit up the Denver Broncos in the Super Bowl. You know this guy can get after the quarterback. Dwayne Allen has some talent. We've seen him shine a few times for the Indianapolis Colts. You lose Martellus Bennett, so you need to replace that. Boom, Dwayne Allen comes in and is going to be able to do that for you effectively. And Brandon Cooks, Tom Brady hasn't had a receiver like that, a dynamic guy like that, since Randy Moss. I mean, literally, he's doing it with these guys that we see him. The Patriots draft young receivers. We see the Patriots go out and get guys like Hogan, or develop a guy like Edelman, but they don't have guys that are true difference makers like Cooks at the receiver position. Now you do. So that to me was their draft in effect. The offseason, and more specifically free agency, that was their draft. This was just a supplement to their offseason. And so that's the New England Patriots in a nutshell. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here on the Louie T Network. Come back and join me as I continue to break down anything. And then in the National Football League, got one question for you. Who's next?